Hello, welcome back to Chapter 4, The Rat Trap, written by Selma Lagerlof. So today I'm going to explain page 35 to you. So here we go. It was late in December. Darkness was already descending over the forest. This increased the danger and increased also his gloom and despair. So it was December, late December, that is the second half of December. Darkness was already descending, it was evening. The darkness started to spread. Night had fallen, say. There was darkness around. This increased the danger. Danger was from two fronts. One from the forest animals, other was from forest animals means wild animals and also other creatures. And second threat was from the nature. That is, it was midwinter. Midwinter you can say. And at such a time, going without shelter, spending night under open sky, ensures, gives you no chance of survival. So the danger was from these two friends. Finally, he saw no, and that's why he was gloomy. He was despair. He had lost all his hopes to live. Finally, he saw no way out, and he sank down on the ground, tired to death. And as there was no way out, no way to go or come out of the forest, reach to the other side of the forest, so he had given up all the hopes and he sank down. That is, he had fallen onto the ground with despair, with hopelessness, and secondly, with tiredness as well, because he was uh, exhausted. He was tired to death. That is, he was very much exhausted, very much tired. Thinking that his last moment had come and he was tired to death, he had fallen onto the ground with exhaustion, with hopelessness, and he was thinking that his last moment had come, that he was going to die now. There was no hope left for his survival. But just as he laid his head on the ground, he heard a sound, a hard, regular thumping. So, just as he had given up all his hope, and just as he thought that there was no chance of his survival, he was not going to live any longer. He was not going to see the next day sun, the sun of the next day. Then only, as he was laying his head onto the ground, was putting his head down to the ground, he heard a thumping, regular thumping sound. That is the sound of hitting. Regular hitting, that is regular hard hitting sound. There was no doubt as to what that was, and there was no doubt at all as what that was. He raised himself. Those are the hammer strokes from an iron mill. He thought, he was sure that those were the sound, those were the hittings of hammer coming from the iron mill, and he was sure that it is in the vicinity, in the just in the neighborhood, or you can say very nearby only. So he got up and was now ready to follow that sound. There must be people nearby. He summoned all his strength, got up, and staggered in the direction of the sound. So he realized that there must be some habitation, human habitation, some residential area, some locality. So gathering all his strength, he got up and started to follow the direction, started to move in the direction of the sound, and moved with unsteady movement. The Ramshaw Ironworks, which are now closed down, were not so long ago a large plant with smelter, rolling mill, and forge. So Ramshaw, talking about Ramshaw, currently at present it's shut is down, shut. It had shut operations. It has shut operation, but at that time, when the story took place, when the rat trap reached there, it was doing good business, and it was having a large plan. That is, it had a large plan. It was a big firm, big plant with smelter, that was having smelter, rolling mill, and forge that had all the facilities, that had all the equipments. In the summertime, long lines of heavily loaded barges and scows slid down the canal, which led to a large inland lake. And in the winter time, the roads near the mill were black from all the coal dust which shifted down from the big charcoal crate. So, talking about this iron mill, it was doing a good business. It was having roaring business. It was the heyday of the company of that mill. So summer times it would send the consignment, either the raw material or the finished product was sent through the canal, which through the canal by the boats, big boats and scows. All these are boats, different forms of boats. So different types of boats. So through boats, through the canal, using boats, they used to send their products, and also the raw material would come to the plant during summertime. But in winter time, the roads near the mill were dark, were black from the charcoal dust, because as the trucks would come to the mill, and as they move, because of the roads and uneven roads, rough surface, rough roads, or there would be, and also because of the movement of the trucks, of the vehicles, or the charcoal dust would filter down from the vehicle and would settle on the road. So the road would look dark during the winters, because all the raw material and the finished product would go through the road. Because in winter, the lake, canal, everything would freeze there in the western country. Here we're talking about Sweden, so there it would freeze. During one of the long dark evening just before Christmas, the master smith and his helper sat at the dark forge near the furnace, waiting for the pig iron which had been put in the fire to be ready to put on the anvil. So one of the long dark evenings before Christmas time, dark evening, and it was the evening was quite long, and there, at such time, the master smith, as usual, the master smith there was there with his helper, and both of them were waiting for the pig iron to come there, so that they could give it a proper shape, desired shape. So they were waiting for the pig iron to reach there, because the pig iron had gone to either for the for say for the melting, or for giving its heat so that it could turn red hot. And when iron gets red hot, it gets some kind of flexibility, and any shape can be given. So some kind of heating, it had gone there. So they were waiting for the pig iron to come, so that they could do their work. They could start their work. That had to come to the anvil, that is a platform where the red hot iron is given the desired shape. Every now and then one of them got up to stir the glowing mass with a long iron bar, returning in a few moments, and every now and then, that is frequently or regularly, one of the two, either the ironmaster or the helper, would go there, stir the fire, turn up the charcoal or the coal, so that the fire would glow in its intensity, and the work would be done faster. So they would go and return after a few moments. Dripping with perspiration, though, as was the custom, he wore nothing but a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. So he would return every now and then. Whoever would go there would return with dripping perspiration. That is, would return with a lot of sweating, though that was the custom during those days at that time, that the worker was not allowed or was not given the equipments or proper suit, proper suit, proper you can say dress, proper suit, proper kits to wear while working before fire, while working in such conditions. So they were not given proper kits, proper suits and all during those days. Just a full sleeve shirt and wooden shoes were given, and that's why they would perspire. Even in winter they would perspire because they have tremendous heat there. All the time there were many sounds to be heard in the forge. The big bellows groaned and the burning coal cracked. So every time there at the furnace, at the forge, sound was there every time. A lot of sound was created there every time. Things like you can say the big bellows, like you can say the air sac or air bag that caused air to pump out so that the fire could be intensified. So that was air was pumped through bellows, and so there was sound. And then as the coal burned, so there was the cracking sound of the coal. Then the fire boy shoveled charcoal into the maw of the furnace with a great deal of clatter, and as the fire boy shoveled, pushed charcoal into the maw, into the mouth of cylinder, that cylinder or that tunnel for the fire. So there was sound because of the throwing of that charcoal. So that too created or caused some kind of sound. Outside roared the waterfall, and a sharp north wind whipped the rain against the brick tiled roof. And outside was as there was rain and north wind was blowing. There was strong wind outside, so it lashed rainwater onto the roof, tiled roof. That is the brick tiled roof, as you see in the old type houses with slanting roofs. So the rain hit against the tiled roofs. So that too created some sound, some noise, and also the waterfall, that is the gushing water through pipes and all created a lot of noise there. It was probably on account of all this noise that the blacksmith did not notice that a man had opened the gate and entered the forge until he stood close up to the furnace. And due to all this sound, the blacksmith or the helper could not notice, could not see the man, this rat trap seller, opening the gate and entering the furnace or the forge until he stood before the fire, before the furnace. Surely it was nothing unusual for poor vagabonds without any better shelter for the night to be attracted to the forge by the glow of light which escaped through the shooty panes, and to come in to warm themselves in front of the fire. So what it says, it was nothing unusual for this kind of vagabonds, for this kind of homeless people, people without shelter, to get attracted to this place, to the forts, because here is sufficient heat, more than sufficient heat to keep someone warm. So they got attracted by this glow of fire that escaped through the shooty panes. That is, the shooty means black, black window glasses. So they got attracted by this, tempted by this glow, by this fire, and they would come to this place. So their coming to the forge was nothing unusual for the people, for the workers of the iron mill. And that's why they did not notice, they did not pay much attention to the red trap seller. The blacksmiths glanced only casually and indifferently at the intruder, and the blacksmith only looked indifferently towards the intruder, that is the red trap seller. That is, he looked at the red trap seller, but not intently, just through a glance. He looked the way people of his type usually did, with a long beard, dirty, ragged, and with a bunch of rat traps dangling on his chest. So all the people of his type, the vagabonds of his type who would come there, usually would have the long beard and dirty, torn clothes. And here he is here with a bunch of rat traps that remain suspended from his shoulders. So since such people would come every now and then, or say every night, such people would come to the furnace. So since it was not a special event, it was a regular task. So they did not pay attention to this man even. This is this much only for now. Thank you.